Hello, that's 51st Parallel. Today I have a new guest. He is also from our radio. Actually, I've been thinking if I should create a separate series for such guests, since I plan to record more episodes with radio members. Nevertheless, Fyodor is with me today, and we are recording a podcast where we'll discuss his interests, how he moved to Wroclaw, what radio means to him, and some more things. Have a nice time listening to it. Okay, hello.
Nice. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm very honored to be invited to this podcast, and especially because I value every single opportunity to speak in English. And well, it's been a long time, if I'm honest. It's the last time that I've had the opportunity. So thank you.
Sure. Well, from my side, I'm very happy to have you here today. And as I mentioned in the intro, you're also from the radio. So let's talk a little bit about that. How have you joined our radio?
Sure. Well, I've joined through the normal process of, I'm not actually sure what it's called in English.
Maybe the admission process.
Yeah, the admission process, I suppose. And the funny thing, I've joined the cultural department segment of the radio, and I'm also a sort of guest in our, what's it called, Western European?
Yeah, Eastern European
Eastern
department.
European department, exactly. And yeah, I've just... I've heard from multiple people in my life that as I've grown and my voice has changed and it's deepened, that maybe it's a good idea for me to try out myself on such a platform as the radio, and here I am, and I don't regret it.
That's true. Your voice is great. So
Thank you. Yours too, by the way. I wanted to mention that before. Yeah.
well, thank you very much. And how do you enjoy the radio so far?
Man, I have no words really. It's been just such a positive and even overwhelming at times experience since the beginning. Basically, I've only been here like 2.5 months, I guess, since the admission process, and I'm just amazed by how, first of all, friendly the atmosphere is how everyone is just so inviting, and it really, you can see that this radio is for the people, if you can call it that, because, well, there's plenty of room for improvement and for developing your own, I guess, what do you call it, prospects or perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, cannot agree more. That's true. I'm very happy that our radio has this atmosphere, as you mentioned. It's very friendly, and people from different backgrounds can join our radio and find something in common with other members. That's great. And what about this department, like Eastern European department? What do you think of that? And I mean, why would you, let's say, come to us and host some programs?
Well, I guess the obvious answer is because I speak Russian. And, well, you guys also speak Russian and you have programs in Russian, so it just seemed like a natural choice for me. But also, I mean, truth be told, the first time that I came on Что там, the program that we have 12 each Sunday, by the way, check it out. The first time that I came, and I think the first or the second question that I received from anyone was, hey, do you want to go live on air right now? And it was my first day on the radio. So the first thing I thought was, wow, these guys have no idea what they're doing, right? Why are they letting me go on the podcast? Well, I mean, on the radio, live on air when it's my first day. But oh well, it turned out great, and I'm really also thankful for the whole experience. I hope that it's the start of a fruitful and eventful journey for us all.
That's true. I mean, that's quite an interesting approach, but still, I mean, you did great. You did great this
Thank
day.
you.
I remember, and that was the day I met you, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm also happy that I came to the radio to just participate in this program. It was a great pleasure to host it with
You've
you.
been here for a longer time. You've
Yes,
been here
yes.
for a year. And have you also participated in Что там throughout the last years? Or
No, actually, for me, it's also sort of new experience, I would say. Yeah, I mean, I joined this department. Okay, not that I joined it. Probably the right way to put it would be that I'm also a guest here. So I'm just, I host my own program, my own podcast. And also I've heard that there is such an interesting department. And I decided that probably I should, go there sometimes and host something.
Such an aspiring podcaster like yourself. Seems like a fitting place for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, probably it is. You also mentioned that you speak Russian. So where are you from?
Okay, so I was born in Russia, in Moscow. Spent the first 10 years of my life then. In 2013, moved to Poland, to a small village right on the border of Czech Republic, and well, haven't looked back since. But I speak Russian with my mom at home and with my father back in Russia. Yeah, so it's I guess it's an important part of my life, Russian.
So you've been living here for more than 10 years or
Yeah,
approximately 10 years?
10 years since June of this year. Yeah.
Okay, wow, interesting. So what led to this choice?
I wouldn't say that it was much of a choice, at least not from my part. No, it was more of a family situation. My mother married a citizen of Poland, and in terms we moved into the house here, and well, as I said, then I guess it was that was 10 years ago, and then 2 years ago I moved to Wrocław to a little apartment.
I mean, that actually explains a lot of things. Firstly, I would like to mention that your Polish is very good. I mean,
Thank
at
you.
least yeah, from what I can tell. And yeah, actually, I was wondering like how long you have been living here, and now I have the answer. So speaking of that, how did you enjoy, let's say, living in this small village, and how was it for you? Because someone who was born in Moscow, how many people live in Moscow? Is it like 15 million
15
people?
million, yeah, around that. Yeah, no, not less,
So
definitely.
that's a drastic change, I
A
would
very
say.
drastic change, a very big change, a contrast, I would say. But what can I say? I'm a part of the generation that grew up semi-digitally, so I did spend a lot of time, even back in Russia, in a village in a house that my grandma owned, and so I was familiar with the countryside, with the sort of village landscape. So I enjoyed it quite a lot. Although I'm not gonna lie that I've longed for the life of the big city. So Wrocław was how do I put this? A definite choice for me in the
Hmm.
long run.
Okay, so how did you move to Wrocław then?
It was, I guess, predetermined also because my sister, who now lives in Greece, she used to live in Wrocław. She moved here. She moved to Poland a year after me and my mom, and she also went to this institute with this university of communications which I go to. She took her studies in English, and I mean, she was always very positive about Wrocław. We came with my mom, we visited her, we saw the city. I fell in love with it almost instantly just because of the architecture, for example. So it just seemed like an obvious choice. There are many things that connect me to this city.
Hmm. Okay. So I guess there's no need to ask you if you like this city. Obviously, you love
I
this city.
love it. I love it. Absolutely in love with it, and I think that everyone should visit it if they have the opportunity to come to Poland. It's, I think, an even more obvious choice than our capital, Warsaw. I don't know. I've always felt that Wrocław. I don't want to say deserves the title of the capital more, but it sort of looks like it. It's such a beautiful city. It's so culturally rich, and it's just, I don't know,
Yeah, I
very
mean,
well shaped all around.
I guess many listeners will be happy to hear that, especially the listeners from Wrocław, right?
Of course, yeah. Pozdrawiam was.
Let's get to some of your activities maybe, or some of your interests. I've heard that you're a huge music enjoyer.
You could say that. Yeah, I do dabble. I do dabble.
So can you elaborate on that?
You see, that's hard to elaborate because, as I've told you before, I listen to, well, anything that I like, and I like a lot. I like everything from jazz to drum and bass to hardcore metal, whatever it is. As long as it's good music, I like to listen to it. And I've also been lucky enough, thanks to my father in part, to visit many metal concerts, which I think I've also mentioned, like Rammstein, Tool, Metallica. So I've always been a big fan of those genres of music specifically. I don't know. I don't know actually if I look like a type of person who would listen to such music. I've heard different things, but yeah, I enjoy.
I mean,
heavy music.
I'm not sure if I can either like confirm or deny if you look like
I think
this
that,
type of
no,
person.
I just think that there's a certain how do I put this, a
Okay.
stereotypical way that a person who listens to metal looks, and I
Uh-huh.
don't think I fit that specific type. I don't know. I don't know.
Probably not, but
Yeah,
still, I mean, it doesn't mean that you cannot listen to this music. Of course,
sure,
you can
sure.
be a huge enjoyer and lover of such music, but still don't look like an average, as you said,
I
fan of
suppose.
such music. I wanted to ask you if you play any instruments.
Sure. And I've also had an episode where I played in a band. I used to play the saxophone, and I say used to because it's really a rare occurrence nowadays, unfortunately. And since 2018, I play the guitar. Although I would say that it's still more of a hobby, I play like very amateur music, if you can call it that. But I enjoy it a lot, and I've incorporated both those instruments into my amateur band career, although it was very short. We were very keen on experimenting with our sounds and with the way that we can make our music work. So it's actually a funny thing. And I remember there was this one concert where we decided that we were going to go full out, if you can call it that. And we made an improvisation where it was me, our drummer, and our bassist playing, and then I was playing some riff, and then I've looped that particular segment, and I whipped out the saxophone, and the crowd goes wild, as you say. So it was, yeah, we've experimented, and I've loved it. I wish to return to that when I find the appropriate people here in Wrocław.
Oh, sounds amazing. That's what I can tell. And if you find the appropriate people, if you, as you said, then of course invite me to your
Of
concert.
course, you'll be the first one invited.
Oh,
Trust me.
well, thank you very much. And also, I just wanted to clarify one thing. Are you playing like an acoustic guitar or an electric one? Both.
Both.
Okay.
And although I would say that I enjoy the electric guitar the most, just because of the opportunities that it creates for all kinds of different
Hmm.
sounds. I've tried and I think succeeded in a way in using my guitar as synthesizer, I guess you can call it that, because I've experimented with sounds that don't particularly sound like the guitar on the guitar, and also came out quite interesting. I wish I had the recordings to prove my musical endeavors, but well,
Don't worry,
it's all
I
just in my
trust you.
room.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Speaking of the saxophone, how long? Like, okay, as you said, like you used to do that. So, for how long?
I've played for 8 years, give or take. And I said I played, I stopped. I would say that it's because my interest shifted towards the guitar more because of the music that I started listening to. And the saxophone also, just from the beginning, it was more of, one day I came from school and then my dad came home and he had a big saxophone in his hand and he said, "Take this, you're gonna play." And
Wow.
so,
Okay.
yeah, and I mean, at the time I wasn't that interested, but with, I grew and my interests changed and I've enjoyed it then, and then it also changed. Yeah, it's fine.
Hmm.
It's life.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. That in some way your dad shaped your
Of
music
course.
career.
No,
Let's say.
my dad, I would say, is the biggest influence on my musical taste, also, because, well, he's introduced me to basically every band that I listen to now, and all of my experimentation and my own creativity that I try and present on the instruments. I mean,
Hmm.
it's all thanks to him, I guess.
Do you have a saxophone here?
No, not in Wrocław. I have it back at home in the village, and but I plan on bringing it when, as I've said, the opportunity arises for me to use it somewhere. I'm gonna have to practice a little bit, definitely, but yeah, I sure hope get an opportunity to actually use it in a concert environment. Perhaps it'd be very nice.
Awesome. Awesome. I also wanted to get back to your, let's say, arrival here to Poland.
Sure.
What were some challenges that you faced during this time? Because I suspect you hadn't any experience with Polish, let's say, or with or like you had not lived in Poland before
Sure.
you, of course, moved
Sure.
here. And how was it? Just share your thoughts and
Yeah, well, I don't want to lie. I had a teacher. It was Miss Małgosia back in Moscow. Who she was a Polish person who moved to Russia. I think also because she married a Russian person, and she taught me the basics. She gave me the, I guess, the what do you call it? The fundamentals of the language. But when I moved, when it actually happened, and it came time for my first school day in Poland, I came there and I remember distinctly. I remember it like it was yesterday. The only thing in my mind was, holy crap! I can only ask where the toilet is, or maybe what time it is. How am I gonna communicate to my peers? How am I gonna communicate to all those old people? I remember my dad also brought me to the English teacher because he was, like, here's this one person who you can actually talk to, and show her your English skills and all that. And she was like, "Oh, so you speak English?" And the only answer I could muster was yes, and that was it. I was just standing there with a stone cold face. Yeah, it was definitely scary at first, but I also think that, the fact that I've moved when I was 10 years old at such a young age, my brain was still developing in a very rapid way. And so when I was placed in this deep water of an environment that is the Polish school, and I just basically had no choice other than to learn the language, then it happened almost instantaneously because it was just, that. It was just a need. It wasn't a want, it was a need. And so I would say that maybe a year and a half, and I was semi fluent in the language. So after that, it was like the Polish people say, jak z górki. So it was easy. It was easy.
nice, nice. Well, yeah, that's interesting and great that you had your Polish teacher back in Moscow.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. She helped. And I also wanted to ask you because I don't think we've spoken much about how you've moved to Poland and about your experiences with the language specifically. Because let's not kid ourselves, Polish is a hard language. And I think the fact that we were able to learn it fairly easily is due to the fact that it's a Slavic language, and we also speak Slavic languages, but it's still phonetically like it's completely different from our first languages.
Well, it depends because if you're talking about Russian, then yes. If you're talking about Belarusian, that may be
okay,
not that much.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Belarusian
so
was
speak on that, please. I'm
yeah. I
very
mean,
interested to hear.
Belarusian definitely was helpful here, and it was probably a little bit easier for me to learn this language. However, my level of Polish is I believe it's not that good as your level of Polish.
You're
so
flattering me. You're flattering me.
but anyway, I moved here to study, and first I went to this preparatory course
Mm-hmm.
where I learned Polish and some other subjects in Polish, and that's basically it. So then I
But it
moved
was
to
here already.
yeah,
in
it was
Poland.
here
Okay.
in actually not in Wrocław, but in another city in Lodz or Łódź. So
the criminal,
yep,
the criminal
yep,
place.
exactly. But I mean, it was fine. Actually,
Yeah.
I enjoyed this time, and I was able to learn a lot of things, and I'm very happy about that. Speaking of Wrocław, I moved to Wrocław and started my studies here, and of course, I continued to learn the language because it's the process, and I believe that it's the process that we undergo throughout our lives. Even now, I learn some new words in Belarusian, in Russian, and in English, and in some other languages.
You live, you learn.
Yeah, exactly. So it was something like that. Probably it's a little bit simpler than your way, but still.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The hard way was, in the long run, the easy way. Because I know I would have struggled a lot more had it been just a more pleasurable experience in the beginning. But thank God it wasn't, and thank God I was able to learn. I like to compare it to this old USSR type of method to teach the kids not to be afraid of the dark. You lock them in a room and you tell them there are monsters inside. Good luck. And then you come back in the morning and, well, the kid might have a trauma for the rest of his life, but he's not going to be afraid of the dark. So it's
Definitely not the dark.
yeah.
Maybe parents, but not the dark. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Or for example, swimming as well, right?
Oh god, yeah. That's more dangerous, I suppose, for the life of a kid. But yeah, it works. It also works. Just a disclaimer: I'm not gonna implement those techniques on my children. Don't worry, listeners.
Probably another note is that
Yeah.
I have never experienced such things, so
Thank God, me neither. Me neither. I've only heard of it.
oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. What was it that I wanted to ask you? There was another thing, but again, it just slipped my mind. Sorry.
I wanted to say actually
Yeah.
because you've mentioned that it's the process of life, like learning. Even right now, you're learning new words in Belarusian, in Russian, in English, whatever it is. I've noticed that also, especially with me now joining the Eastern European. I'm sorry, Department. Exactly, I keep forgetting the word. I don't know why. When I've joined the department and I've started speaking to all those people speaking Russian, Belarusian, Ukrainian, I see some improvement in my Russian, for example, because after living for such a long time in Poland, being constantly surrounded by Polish and not really listening to that much Russian, I mean, whether you want to or not, you're gonna forget some words. You may forget even some grammatics, which I've noticed in myself. I've started constructing sentences in Russian as I would in Polish, or maybe even putting accents in the wrong places. It was very weird, but right now I'm trying to fight that, especially since we have a program in Russian where it would be best to speak the proper way, the proper language. Whether you like it or not, you're gonna learn some new things. You're gonna develop yourself a little more. It's just an interesting phenomenon for me to look
Definitely. Yeah. 100%. I learned new words, new phrases, and it just also helps you to understand the languages better. When you hear some other languages and you understand them, it helps you to see the pattern. And I really like patterns in different areas, like in physics, in math, and also in linguistics.
at.
So
Exactly.
that's probably my answer to
That's
that.
cool. That's cool, and a cool analogy between. I guess you're more scientifically minded, and but linguistics also, I believe, is a science. So it's definitely interconnectable.
Yeah, to some extent it is. Speaking of that, I wanted to ask you, how was it for you when you first heard someone speaking Belarusian, for example, or I don't know, maybe you were familiar with Ukrainian. Although, again, like, how was it from your perspective when you joined our, or maybe not joined, but like came as a guest
Yeah,
to our
sure,
Eastern European
sure.
department? So, how was it for you to see this community of different people speaking different Slavic languages?
Very cool. I guess you could start by saying just that, but to extend on that, it's just I like to tell people that I understand Ukrainian almost fully, just simply because I speak Russian and Polish, and like it's in a way I don't want to sound offensive, but it's like a combination of those two, which obviously is a separate language, but it gives you a better understanding of Ukrainian if you speak both Polish and Russian. And with Belarusian, actually, I was perplexed very when I first heard it, because I honestly I couldn't even like pinpoint where exactly what am I hearing right now. I was thinking like, okay, well, it has to be Belarusian because it's not Ukrainian, but it's a very different language. It sounds Slavic, but almost kind of Turkic maybe at the same time. It's like it's heavy on your is and your ahs. I don't know. It's what it sounds
Well,
like
that's
to me.
interesting, and actually, I just wanted to hear your perspective on that because, first of all, it's not that easy to find someone speaking Belarusian, and second of all, of course, as you said, it's even more interesting to hear that from some other Slavic language speaking person. So that's cool.
And also, while reading Belarusian, I think I've almost had a stroke when I
Oh,
first
really?
tried
So
to know.
so you tried to even read
Sure.
something?
I've tried to read, and that's a thing, because when I hear you speak Belarusian, for example, I understand most of it. I would say like 90 to 95% I'm able to distinct. But when reading, it looks like something like an alien language. Honestly, maybe it's just because I can't even pinpoint why exactly. It's just I don't know. It looks like Hungarian even almost.
Okay.
I don't know. It's an interesting language, very interesting. And as you said, it's very rare to actually find someone who speaks proper Belarusian. So to hear someone speak it was definitely an experience.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you now have this
For sure,
experience and that
for sure.
yeah, you have this opportunity to
I,
hear
I also
some
don't know
people speaking.
if you remember in our first program when we met each other, there was I think one question which the other host started, and you and I think it was Diana, you were able to answer it well normally because you understood it, and I got completely lost. I lost the context. I lost completely just I remember the word legalization was in there, but I decided that it's too little to build my answer off of. So yeah, it was
That's actually
definitely
interesting.
it
That's
was
probably one of the things that I wanted to ask you, like what happened then? Because like from my perspective, it was something like you just, I don't know, maybe you were thinking about something else, and all of a sudden I'm saying, and now let's listen what
yeah.
Fyodor has to say on this topic, and you were like, I'm sorry, I just missed the question.
Yeah,
Very sorry.
completely. No, it was just a matter of the more I heard you speak, the less I understood. It was a
Oh,
complete
okay.
conundrum.
Oh,
I
I
was so
see. So it
lost.
was because of the language. Because at first, again,
Definitely,
I thought that
definitely.
maybe you're just thinking about something
No,
something
no,
different.
no. I was really concentrating and I just couldn't. I don't know why. I don't know what happened there. No, so it shows that although we all speak Slavic languages, they're still completely different, and sometimes such things can happen.
True, true, but still, again, it was a funny experience, and definitely, I mean, like your answer was good in a way because you were able to sort of like play around this situation and
Yeah.
just say that.
But it was stressful. It was stressful, man. I'm
But still,
very
you didn't seem stressful. I would say, yeah, you
I'm
were
glad.
you were sort of calm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy that it came out funny rather than bad or I don't know, wrong, incorrect, whatever. No, it's exactly what I'm speaking. Like the atmosphere here, the whole approach to work on a radio is phenomenal here, really. And I'm once again very glad that I've had this opportunity to join the radio and try myself out here.
What do you think radio can teach you?
Man, radio can teach you how to entertain people, I guess. That's the first thing that springs to mind. It's just how to speak in a way that people want to listen. And I guess also it teaches you, well, funny thing, before coming on the radio, I would describe myself as a completely asocial person. So I would never call myself an extrovert. But then when you come here and you're in this sort of environment, you're surrounded by people who are open-minded and open to get to know you and all that, and it's also a part of a job to get to know people. Yeah, you sort of you start to see yourself change and just go on to the other side. So yeah, it definitely the radio gives you an opportunity to speak to like-minded individuals to which you can connect later. Yeah.
True, and radio can teach you how to be more confident and how to find the right words when it is necessary. So that's great, I guess. And yeah, I'm happy that we have different people here. Let's talk about another activity that you used to do. You were a scuba diver.
Oh man, yes, I was, and it was a very
Oh, I guess
interesting
I guess
time.
we can say that you are scuba diving because it's
Sure, I still have a valid
once you
license.
are you
Sure,
yeah,
yeah,
it's for the
exactly.
rest
It's
of your life.
like riding a bike, you could say. And yeah, sure. If an opportunity arises, I would like to dive again. But I have to say that I want to underline that I was a scuba diver more than I am now, because honestly, it's a scary sport, man. I've never expected it to be as scary because in the beginning it was all just, dive to the 10 or 15 meters deep and look at the fish, look at the corals and all that. But then I think I once had a situation where, for example, I have teeth fillings inside, and I don't know if you're familiar with decompression, the term. In a way, it's so decompression is basically when you go down too deep into the sea. Say you're at 25 meters below the sea level, Well, you can't really. I mean, from that depth, you still can come up straight to the surface, and it probably wouldn't cause any problems. But say from 30 to 50 meters, if you come up too fast, there is a certain term like what's it called?
Decompression or
Decompression sickness,
mm.
which essentially means, well, in easy terms, your blood starts to boil. It
Oh,
starts
okay.
producing those little air bubbles, which sometimes can even be fatal. And well, thankfully, I've never had that happen to me since I'm sitting here talking to you. But since I have that scuba diver license that I've mentioned, I can dive down to, I think, to 25 to 30 meters, and that's enough to cause your teeth fillings to hurt, to ache like crazy. And it's a very sharp, like almost like a stabbing, throbbing pain, which goes away fairly quickly when you rise to the surface. But because of decompression sickness, because of the risk of having decompression sickness, when even if you start feeling this pain, you still have to take the slow dive out of the
I see.
depths,
I
and
see.
so it's a prolonged feeling of that
Pain. Yeah.
that pain. Yeah, it was definitely. I don't want to say traumatic. I didn't. Nothing bad really happened, but it sort of turned me off onto that
So
sport. It was,
you had such situations, right?
yeah, I mean, it definitely was all around a beautiful experience to just look at this underwater world that is there. That is, that I like to mention to people that we have only explored 5 or like 7% of our ocean on the planet, and it's just a fascinating thing to me that we have such a vast ocean, such a big place on Earth, which we know pretty much nothing about. So I guess that was the inspiration to even start scuba diving in the first place. But yeah, I'm sort of, I'd rather keep my teeth fillings and my head in check than go and look at the fish underwater.
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
fine with snorkeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but again, it's honestly when you have the opportunity, you better try it, because it's always an experience that is just out of this world. It's
Well, thanks for this advice. Actually, you're the second person who is a scuba diver. So and actually that's funny because both of you say that it's an amazing experience.
yeah,
So
it is an amazing experience, but it can have its downsides definitely to it. If
mhm.
if you have the opportunity to try it in a safe environment and controlled environment, do it. Definitely, it's
Mhm.
uncomparable.
Probably one more thing that I wanted to discuss with you was your studies. So what do you
Hmm.
study here? Because let me give a short intro here. When we first met, you're explaining what you study here, and you put it in this word. So basically, when I come to a store, it's not that easy to trick me and to just trick me into buying something.
Yeah,
So can you elaborate on that?
I guess you could say that. No, well, I study. I guess, how do I put this? Because komunikacja wizerunkowa in Polish, that would be communication of. Because wizerunkowa is not like, it's not visual, it's more. Oh, sorry.
More
Um,
like connected to, I don't know, appearance
yeah,
or yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah,
more like an
yeah.
image of a person, so say a celebrity or whatever. So it's more like how to. Well, it
How
depends
to
on your.
present something, how to like yeah.
Exactly, how to present, how to sell something, how to sell someone, for example. However that sounds, I'm meaning more like in the public relations sense, obviously. And that's actually the specific part of communications that I'm studying. It's public relations. And when I mentioned that it's not that easy to trick me in the stores and all that, that's definitely part of the studies. Is just seeing how the brands, the different marketers, different salesperson, how they try to communicate to you and try to persuade you into buying their product. It's like there are some products that, for example, have certain areas where, for example, when you go to the store to buy something to clean your drain in your shower with, the first thing you look for is Kret, which is a brand, but it became sort of the leading brand, which no one even truly thinks about it anymore. They just come into the shop, and if they need that specific thing, they go for Kret. And there are many, if not tens, if not hundreds of other brands which are right there sitting beside it, and yet we still choose that one. And there's a perfectly easy and good explanation in it, which public relations tries to explain and actually and to just it gives you a better understanding of that sort of phenomena, like how we are maybe pushed towards certain products and pushed away from others. It's really a science in and of itself. Not to offend any real scientists, I'm sorry. I know I'm just a communication specialist in the future. No, it's
Well, that's an interesting thing that you mentioned, that we sort of have this free will and illusion of choice.
exactly the
However,
illusion.
yeah,
Yeah.
however, we buy something that sometimes some other people want us to buy.
Yeah, I love how you've worded it. It's an illusion of free will, definitely, because we don't even notice nowadays how pretty much from every side, and no matter if it's on the street, in the tram, at home, when looking at some video on YouTube, everyone maybe not even they don't even try to sell you anything. They just try and sell you on the idea. Like they look at us, don't look at them. Their word. It's just it's a big when you start to look at it from that perspective, like it's not something natural. It's something that's been orchestrated and planned for, like all of the campaigns and all that. It's really happening. It's happening in real time right now. The people from Red Bull, for example, are thinking how to persuade our clients into buying our blue and silver cans instead of the Monster ones or the Burn ones. It's just really, it's happening all the time and everywhere. It's
Why was that your choice?
truth be told, my mom, I was inspired by her career because back in Moscow, she was the director of quite a popular advertisement festival, I guess you could call it that. It was just a place where each year where she would organize an event where all of the famous advertisers from all over the world would come and just show what they've been working on for the past year. And as I've said, it's a competition of basically like look at us, don't look at the other guy. But yeah, she was really good at it, and my dad also helped her quite a lot during that. And I guess I was just it interested me from the beginning how that sort of world works. But then also when I was still in high school, when I was choosing my university, my studies for the future, I knew that it would be something just media related. So first, it was I was thinking about journalism. I was thinking about going to the same faculty that Alex went to, actually, Alex Kartashov. But in the end, I've just stumbled upon komunikacja wizerunkowa, and the description of the faculty just seemed like it was the right place to go, and I don't regret it. Once again, it's just, I think that I'm in my element there.
That's actually great, because you look like a person who would go and study something like that. No, not to offend you. I mean, that's
No,
that's actually great.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
It's-
You are very, how to put it. You have this good connection with others, and you can see some relations. Let's say, like
Public, perhaps?
yeah. So how two things are related, and how to promote something, how to present something. So
Thank you,
that's-
thank you for the
that's
kind
really
words.
good.
But
Yeah.
as I've said, I'm just working on it now
Mhm.
because it's a process, definitely, to try and be more open towards people. I think it's also. I'm interested in your opinion. Do you think it's a skill? Is it something that you can develop in yourself, like being more open towards people, or is it maybe just something that you're born with, that you are I don't know, that you're pushed towards with your life experiences and all that?
Good question. I mean, I don't have a certain answer. However, I can put it like this. So basically, when someone tells me that about, I don't know, talent or something like that, I see it as such thing that some people have this predisposition, let's say, towards some things. So they have an sort of upper hand in that. So they do something better than others. However, if a person, for example, a person who doesn't have this sort of talent, it's that it doesn't mean that this person cannot develop such skills. So basically, if you don't have a talent, you better work on that and just develop this skill yourself. And if you have this talent, well, you better also work on
Exactly,
that,
improve on it.
just not to be worse than the people who don't have this talent, but still who practiced and mastered and, just achieved higher goals than you did. So, yeah, basically it works this way, I guess.
Would you say that you have worked on your social skills that way?
Uh,
Or were you
in some
always...
sense, I guess. I mean, no, definitely. I wasn't born with this talent, talking to people or something. I mean, okay, how to put that? I think that I'm a social person, so of course I enjoy talking to people. It wasn't something that was difficult for me. However, again, many things I've learned them throughout my life, and I'm still learning. And yeah,
Sure, you live, you learn. As I like to
of
repeat.
course, yeah. Nice saying, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
So probably the last question I would like to ask you is, what are your plans for the future? Let's say maybe career-wise, or I don't know, or maybe in life, or whatever. Like maybe you want to go tomorrow somewhere, I don't know, to Antarctica or to Africa or to Australia.
Man,
What
I
is it?
wish I wish I could go back to Norway and actually go more up north and look at the northern lights. It's been a long dream of mine, but unfortunately, finances, well, do not always allow people to have such adventures. But no, in general, I would say that when talking about the future, right now, my future, I see it on the radio, man. It's just so it's been such an overwhelmingly positive experience from the beginning that I see myself here very naturally, I guess. And yeah, I hope I can make this in this sort of environment, because it really seems like something I could be comfortable in, and in where I could feel I guess professional satisfaction in a way. Yeah, it's a path, and I wish to explore it further.
Awesome. You mentioned Norway. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because you traveled to this country, right?
Yes, also thanks to my father. Thank you very much. It was we went on a I think it was 7-day trip, where each and every single day we would change the city, starting from Oslo to Bergen and to all of the other beautiful cities. We've looked at fjords. We've looked at we've taken a boat. I mean, the first thing that springs to mind when I think about Norway again is the nature. It's just so, if you like the cold, if you enjoy it, if you don't really like being sweating and all that, then Norway is your choice, because it's definitely chilly. It's a chilly country, but that's where the beauty lies in the country. It's just those brutalistic sort of cold mountains with the fjords, with the water. Is just so... Man, I lack words to describe it, really. It's a beautiful country, and my dad also likes to say, again, I don't know how much truth there is to that statement, but he likes to mention that we, the Brechovs, we have Scandinavian Viking blood, which, as I said, I'm not sure about. I get the only thing Scandinavian, even remotely Scandinavian about me is my blonde hair, I suppose. But yeah, I definitely do feel a connection to that country. It's beautiful, and I would love to come back. Absolutely love it.
That's awesome. Some places you have to see them, and it's practically impossible to describe them with words.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, it's just, I guess, just Scandinavian countries also, compared to, say, Poland or Russia or even any European country below that sort of level, it's just it's so different. Even the people are different, the life is completely different, even the food tastes completely different, although it's I was eating basically the same stuff there that I eat here, but yeah, it's really fascinating to me how much something can change when you just move one
Up
and a
north.
half. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, up north into Scandinavia. Yeah, it's
Well, that's interesting. You mentioned their lifestyle. So, what would you say about that? Because I've heard that these people, they just enjoy nature. So that's basically the reason why they live there, right?
definitely. I mean, look at their country. How can they not enjoy something so beautiful, so vast, so just all round? I don't know, overworldly, I guess. But also, I don't know. I just like to also mention this example when explaining to people what's so different about the people in Norway. Is that me and my dad, at one point, we decided to head to the town market. just buy some vegetables, fruits, whatever. And we came to this old lady. She was like 80, 85, maybe even years old. You could tell that she was, struggling to stand up and all that, but she was still there selling her fruits, her berries. And, well, first of all, an 86-year-old grandma in Norway spoke perfect English. And we were able to communicate to her that what we need and even have a little, a little chat about her life, if I remember correctly. And afterwards, she just I think we said that yeah, we don't have any cash, unfortunately, let us go run to an ATM. And she said, not a problem, and pulled out a card terminal, I guess it's called.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't know, just that in and of itself, just such a, I feel like that really resembles the rest of the country, the rest of the culture very well. They're very well adapted people. You can tell that the level of living there is just so much different, so much higher than everywhere else. It seems like they're living their own bubble even. And I don't even know if I can say that about Sweden or Finland. I haven't been there, obviously, but I've read and I've heard a lot about it. Norway just seems to be that little separate piece of really heaven, if I could say that. Yeah, it's a fascinating country.
Oh,
All around.
interesting, interesting. That reminded me of some other countries you've been to, like Greece, for example. What do you like about Greece?
Well, what can I say? I have family there, which I say very proudly. My sister moved there 2 years ago to live with her fiance, who is Greek. When describing Greece, I guess the first thing that I could mention is that specifically Athens, the capital, it's very, very diverse. And I mean that in a way that, say, you're walking from the main square, and there's a distinct type of architecture, which, well, I guess you could just associate with that part of the city. But then you move like 500 meters further, and it's a completely different thing with completely different architecture, decorations, maybe even what do you call the level of littering on the streets. It's all very, very diverse, and it's all just in the vicinities of 500 meters in and of each other. It's definitely an experience. It was very, very different from what I've seen here, where in Poland also that fiance of my sister, he liked to say, because he lived in Poland, in Wrocław, for 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, and he liked to say that Polish cities look like they've been Control-C'd and Control-V'd into reality, because Krakow, Warsaw, Wrocław, Łódź, whatever it would be, it looked exactly the same to him. That sort of German architecture, the houses, the kamienicas and all that. Yeah, it's just what could I say? I truly understood that statement only when I visited Greece and I saw it for myself, because the city it's one city, and inside of it there is 100 more. Like, that's the best way that I can describe it, really. You truly don't see that here. Although obviously Poland has its own beauties, it's just very different from what you can see in Greece. And I guess the most important, for me at least, aspect of Greece was the food. Man, it's so good.
Yeah, of course, they know how to live and how to cook there.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, jeez, I lack words to even describe it. It's so good, but obviously it's also like you have to enjoy olives, you have to enjoy the salty cheeses, the sort of the moussakas, which is a sort of a lasagna with potatoes, and it's just one of the dishes. You really it's I would even go as far as saying that it's better than Italy.
Mm.
I don't know.
Oh,
I know
okay.
it may be a controversial
Yep.
opinion, I know, but yeah, for me, I would say that it's just
Wow.
perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've also heard that this their diet, for example, it's sort of very healthy, and overall, like Mediterranean Sea and this the climate that it creates there, it's just good for people, sort of, because it's very pleasant in some sense.
Yeah, the climate
Mhm.
also. My sister likes to mention, because she's not a big fan of the very warm weathers. But she mentioned that I think the hottest that Greece got in the last summer, was around 45, 46 Celsius, and you can imagine what it does to a person who doesn't really enjoy, temperatures above 30 and stuff. It's really an excruciating experience. And I remember that when I visited them, it was in February, and man, 25, 24 Celsius. What is that? Is that February? Is that winter? Can you call it that? There's no snow. There are people. Actually, I was the only one bathing in the sea and the only one undressing and trying to sunbathe in that weather. But I had so many weird looks. But yeah, it's still for me was just out of this world. How is this possible? We're in the middle of February.
Yes,
How is it so
that's
warm?
unbelievable.
Yeah, but it's as I say, there's a vast difference between, for example, Norway and Greece when it comes to temperatures. So if you like the cold, well, the obvious choice would be Scandinavia. But Greece is, if you don't mind the heat, and if you like good food and different types of everything basically, move to Greece.
Well,
You'll
that's
love it.
pretty funny thing that you mentioned that you were the only one, let's say, bathing in the sea.
Yeah,
And,
definitely. My sister, who also she got used to the climate there. She was sitting beside me in a jacket and in a winter hat, and I was like, what are you doing? You're from Moscow,
you're supposed to know that
exactly.
it's not that cold.
That also reminds me, one time in Moscow when I was I don't want to lie, but I think I was 7 or 8 years old. It was the only time that I've experienced school cancellation, because it was a winter day. It was very, very cold, and our school got cancelled. But it was also the day that I found out about the certain limits that are posed on the weather, on the temperature. And it turned out that depending on which grade you go into, the temperature at which your classes are cancelled differs also, because for the younger guys, for the younger peoples, there's I think minus 15 Celsius, and I was considered already like a middle schooler, so for me it was minus 25.
Yep.
And I think that day it was minus 27, and our car couldn't even start, so we just decided they canceled it just simply because of that. But then the next day it was minus 23 or 24, and they decided, they can do it. Yeah, they'll survive. Why not? Why not just send them in? Yeah, it was. Just to look at my sister dressing up in that jacket and shivering, sitting in the 24 Celsius heat was, it's just people change. You see, it's fascinating to me.
That reminds me of another story that happened to me.
Mhm.
I also had this limit. That's funny, but we also had like minus 25 for my grade.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Where's
I
the
don't know.
explanation
I
to
don't know.
it? Like, who can function even in minus 15? We're not in Yakutia. We're not in anywhere remotely
Surely
that
not.
cold.
But still, I remember that it was minus 26 in the morning. But still, my father told me that no, you're going to school. He just, dropped me there.
They didn't officially cancel it then?
No. So that was the funny
Jesus.
part, because of course, like during the day, maybe it gets a little bit warmer. So
Yeah.
minus 24 or minus 23.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's so warm, man.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
But still, I remember that. Funny, but nowadays we don't experience these temperatures, so I'm not sure what it will be in Belarus this year. But still, it seems like the climate is changing. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
definitely. What's it called? Global warming is definitely real. I mean, you can tell already.
Mhm.
It's just as you've mentioned. I remember when I was younger and when I've lived in Moscow, having those very, very cold winters, and then they seem to just sort of disappear in the last couple of years. I mean, you don't really hear about it. Obviously, it's still very cold, much colder than we have it here, but like it's not as extreme. Maybe it's a good thing, but then it makes you think maybe something's up. Something's really happening.
Speaking of Moscow, I also wanted to mention that, if I'm not mistaken, Moscow is the second coldest capital of the world. So
Oh
yeah.
wow, okay.
I don't remember what was the first one. Yeah.
Ah, that's actually interesting. Now I wonder what is the first. What could it be? What would be your guess?
I would guess that it's either Greenland or maybe. Good question. Yeah. Maybe some Scandinavian countries. Maybe like
Maybe Iceland. Maybe Reykjavik.
maybe.
Because it
Okay,
is
maybe. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Again, when I think of the cold and capitals, the first thing that springs to mind is Helsinki in Finland, but I'm not sure. I think
Yeah, I
think they're
was
still
also
too
thinking
low.
about Finland, but not
I
sure
think they're
here.
still too close to us
Yeah.
to really have that sort of temperature. It's definitely out there in the north.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, well.
Yeah, I remember this like sort of fact from geography classes. So for some reason I don't remember the first one, but I definitely remember the second one.
Well, what can I
Yeah.
say? Yeah.
By the way, speaking of swimming in the Mediterranean Sea in February, yeah, it was. It would be funny if you told something like this to these Greeks who were watching you.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
hey, they also swim in Norway in February, so don't worry.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, but that's true. That's very interesting that in different parts of the world, some people like in Norway, there are such people who swim during like
course.
February, December, or
Of
January.
course.
Yeah, and also at the same time, you see some people in such warm climates who are afraid to do that, right?
Exactly. And it's fascinating to me how much a human's organism differs from the other human depending on where they're born, where they've spent most of their life, where they've gotten used to the climate and to all of the other things. Same with, for example, there's a common misconception then when going into India, for example, or basically any sort of Asian country, when say eating the food or drinking the water or drinking drinks with ice, is that an average European might have some stomach problems afterwards. And yet you see Indian people, for example, drinking that same water and eating that same food and having no trouble at all. And that's also just simply because their organism is used to that, right? That's just exactly how it's not like they were born into it. They were just also shaped by their life experiences, their location and all that. Which again also translates into Norwegian people swimming in the minus in the chilling colds that they have there. Yeah, it's interesting. Very
True.
interesting.
Would you like to talk about Spain?
Man, I mean,
Just a couple of words.
Spain is great. Spain is just it's I think a very, how do I put this? Not an average European country. It's definitely not average. It's just very cliche, I guess, when going into vacation. Like, where are we going? Let's go Spain. Spain is always good. And Spanish also is a language that I've started to learn, which I can say proudly. Yo hablo un poquito de español. And it's it's also I really like the people. When visiting there, the first thing that I've noticed is just how the society is so. It seems like everybody is at home, just anywhere they are. It's so calm, and with all their siestas and all that, it just seems like a very relaxed type of nation. So yeah, that's just not much that I can say about them.
I see. So
love
basically,
Spanish
it's sort of something in the middle, right?
Sure.
So if you just want to relax, go to Spain.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you want to have a good vacation, go to Spain, because it's a choice that you can't go wrong with it. Basically, yeah.
Nice. Well, it's been a pleasurable conversation.
Likewise.
So thank you very much for coming to this podcast, and I definitely hope that we'll record, I don't know, more programs. Probably we should think about something.
I would be very open to the idea. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you for having me, and I'm always thankful for an opportunity like this.
Well,
it's my first podcast, by the way. Thank you. So
wow.
You've broken my cherry. I can.
Great.
Say,
I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also.
Let's say goodbye to our listeners. Bye.
Goodbye, listeners.
This episode was recorded at Radio LUZ on campus of Wrocław University of Science and Technology. You can find more episodes on our YouTube channel as well as on various other platforms connected to Radio LUZ. You can write to us to 51st.parallel.podcast@gmail.com, which is 51st.parallel.podcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and see you next time.